Tonight's show, I'm going to be walking you through the step-by-step process to creating study habits that stick. Welcome back to the show, everyone. My name is Clarissa. I am your host, creator, founder of She Rocks at College Live, a live show that happens every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we bring together college women in their 20s and 30s to have conversations over chat, talk about all the things that we're struggling with in college so that you can feel fully supported to succeed academically as well as in your life. And tonight I'm talking about one of my favorite topics, which is habit creation, specifically study habits. And I encourage you that if you're on tonight, introduce yourself, let us know where you're from, let us know what habit you're trying to work on right now and what you're struggling with that habit. This is meant to be very interaction. This show is supposed to be interactive. It's meant for you to ask questions, for us to chat and just have conversations about things that a lot of people aren't talking about in college, or things that you wish someone would tell you how to do. So one of the things that I want to talk about tonight is habits. And the reason why I want to talk about habits is because habits are literally what make you who you are. It is your identity. How you think is a habit. The things you do are habits. The beliefs that you believe are habits. They are all creating the you that is on this show right now. You literally are what you repeatedly do, which means that you are your habits. Your life right now is a reflection of the habits that you have adopted in your life. And so I always say, if you're unhappy with the way that things are going for you academically, if you feel like you are just surviving and you're not thriving and you want to thrive in your academic career in your life, then you really need to take a look at what is happening, the things that you are engaging in, the thoughts that you are thinking, the beliefs that you're choosing to believe about yourself, about your situations, about what you can and you cannot do. And tonight specifically, I'm going to teach you how to change your study habits so that they help to support the kind of college lifestyle it is that you have. One of the things that we strongly value here on She Rocks at College is life and college integration. I don't believe that you have to be all college all of the time. You are a human being with interests. You are evolving and you just happen at this moment to be taking college courses. That's my philosophy, my belief around how to approach college. And so I teach students how to take what it is that they want to achieve in their academic semester and fit it into how they want to feel in their life day to day. Many students don't think about how they want to feel and how they want their life to look like while they're taking college classes. All they focus on is A's. All they focus on is getting the scholarships. All they think about is achievement, but they rarely take the time to sit back and think about how they want that process to look like and feel like for them. And a lot of the times that starts with creating rituals, creating habits, creating routines. And so what I'm going to do now is walk you through my step-by-step process on how I build habits that stick. So the first thing that you need to do is you have to ask yourself the following question. Why am I interested in changing my study habits right now? What isn't working for me? What's making me feel frustrated? What's causing me emotional pain? What is causing me discomfort? Why did I decide that today I needed to create better habits around my study process? What this question is going to do is bring awareness to what needs to change. Many people in general, when they create habits, they struggle with knowing which habits to pick. And that's because they're never turning back inward and asking themselves what they need, what they're unhappy with, what support systems they need in place in order to achieve their goals. And so they aimlessly, without direction, pick a goal that doesn't support what it is that they want to do. And that's the reason why it never sticks, is because they never took the time to do the self-reflection. Awareness for anything is always the first step. And so when you ask yourself questions like, why am I interested in changing my study habits? What's not working for me? What's making me feel really frustrated? What that does is really shine a light on the area of your academic experience that isn't fitting your ideal, isn't fitting your vision. And that's where you really want to start with creating your study habits. So once you've identified what's not working for you, why you're feeling frustrated, what's causing you emotional pain and discomfort, then what you want to do is you want to make a list of all of the habits that you already have in your life. And if you think that you don't have any habits, I'm going to challenge you to the idea that you do, because remember what I said at the beginning. We are made up of the things that we repeatedly do. Many of us are not aware that we have habits of thinking that are preventing us from achieving our goal. We have habits of beliefs that are preventing us from achieving our goals. We have things that we do that are habits that are preventing us from achieving our goals. For example, you might be in the habit of not doing your homework right when it's assigned. You might be in the habit of going to your fridge and eating an ice cream tub instead of the healthy food it is that you have. You might be in the habit of, when you get out of work, instead of doing the reading that you're supposed to do, the first thing you do is turn on Netflix. There are habits that you already have in your life that you need to look at that are probably not supporting what you want to achieve. And so once you create that list of the habits that you have, and they could be thoughts, like I said, they could be beliefs, or they could be physical actions that you're taking, next to each and every single one of those habits, what I want you to do is I want you to contribute, or I want you to identify how that habit is contributing to your frustration around your study habits. I want you to identify how those habits are contributing to your emotional pain around your academic experience. I want you to identify how those habits are causing what you're feeling discomfort around. So how are the habits that you currently have in your life causing you to not enjoy your academic experience or not get the results it is that you want? It's important that you look at the habits that you already have in your life, because your habits typically are actions, and actions are the only thing that produce results. So there are actions that you are in the habit of taking that are not supporting you and are not supporting the kind of experience you want to have while you attend your college course, your college major, your college program. Once you have that list, the third step is you want to start brainstorming a list of habits that you want to start. So we've identified what the problem is. We've identified some habits that have contributed to the problem. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create a list or brainstorm some habits that we want to start doing, that we want to start incorporating into our lives. So maybe you want to create a habit of a morning routine, or you want to create a habit of a night routine, or you want to create a habit of working out 3 times a week, or you want to create a habit of journaling. You want to create a habit of drinking more water. You want to create a habit of doing your homework right when it's due. Just brainstorm a bunch of habits that you want to start doing right now. I'm not asking you to pick a habit yet. I'm not asking you to stick to a habit yet. I'm just asking you to brainstorm some habits that you've been thinking about starting. And the important part here, after you've created that list, is you need to write next to each of those habits how that's going to help you with the frustration that you identified at the beginning. So for each habit that you want to start, you want to list out how that's going to help you to no longer feel frustrated, to finally have things working for you. How is that habit going to help support the goal it is that you're trying to achieve? It's important that you identify it, because if you cannot connect the habit to improving your life in some way, shape, or form, that is not a good habit to pick. That is not a good habit to cultivate right now. I want you to think about, when you're writing down these habits, whether that's something that you feel like you need to do because everybody else has a morning routine or everybody else talks about having a nighttime routine. And be careful not to write things down just because everyone else is doing it, just because people say that's a good habit to create. You want to write down habits that are honestly and truly compelling to you, that you are drawn to creating in your life because you feel like it's going to help support you in some way. And right now we're talking about supporting you in your academic experience. After you've created that list, the fourth step of creating study habits that stick is to create a list of options, a variety of options on how you can start that habit. You want to paint a really clear picture of what that habit's going to look like in your life. What time of day are you doing it? What do you need for it? What are you going to be doing? So for example, if you're picking the habit of a morning routine, well, what does that morning routine look like for you? Are you waking up at a certain time of the day? Are you doing a ritual of like pulling tarot cards or lighting some incense or journaling or reading for 10 minutes or doing some yoga? Be really descriptive of what that habit looks like. How much time you want to take for it, how much time it's going to take, what time of the day you're doing it, how often you're doing it. The reason why we want to be descriptive is because when we start to see what this habit is going to entail, it gives us a realistic view on whether or not it's going to fit into our life right now. Whether or not this is something that we're going to be able to tackle successfully with everything else that we have going on in our lives. Once you've done that, you're going to pick the habit that you like the best. And I urge you to consider picking a habit that's going to have a domino effect into other habits. So for example, a lot of people will pick the habit of going to the gym 3 days a week, knowing that if they're working out more regularly, that might spark the desire or the habit of eating healthy. Some people develop a habit of doing a nighttime routine where they're going to bed at a certain time, knowing that if they go to bed earlier, if they have that time to unwind, they will likely wake up earlier, which means that they're going to have a more productive morning because they have more time to do a morning routine. So when you're considering your habit, the first thing that you want to think about, so when you're considering picking your habit, the habit that you're going to focus on cultivating, that you're going to focus on making stick, you want to think about whether that habit is doable for you right now, whether it's going to help support the goal it is that you're trying to achieve. And you're going to want to pick the habit that is the most compelling to you, the thing that you're like, I really, I've been wanting to do this for so long. I know it's going to be so supportive for what it is that I want to do. I know that it's going to help me out so much with my anxiety, or it's going to help me out a lot with my time management. It's going to help me out a lot with getting my schoolwork done, whatever it is. Pick something that is really you're drawn to committing to it. You're drawn to doing it. And try to pick a habit that's going to have a domino effect. So once you've done that, the next step is to write down all of the things that will get in your way of achieving that habit or making that habit stick. This is important. The reason why it's important is because most of the time the habits that we pick are habits that we've tried to make stick in the past. And so I want you to consider why you failed at it before, what obstacles showed up for you before, why you haven't started your habit already, what's preventing you from making it stick. These obstacles are super important. When people create their study routines, when they create their study habits, when they create even their schedules, the one thing that they always forget is to plan for the obstacles. Plan for when things get hard. Plan for when you're falling behind. Plan for when you don't feel like doing it. If you start planning for the inevitable, you will have a higher likelihood of success of making that habit stick. Because what you're going to do when you realize what your obstacles are, the obstacles to sticking to your habits, is you're going to know how to deal with them. What are you going to do in those moments when you don't feel like it? What are you going to do in those moments when the semester gets crazy and you want to throw your self-care to the wind? What are you going to do when you're exhausted to still stick to your habit? When you make the decision ahead of time of how you're going to deal with those situations, you will likely follow through on the habit that you have. But when you don't plan ahead, when you don't make that decision ahead of time, the primitive part of your brain takes over and it makes you do things that don't support your habits. I have a lot of videos on this channel talking all about making decisions ahead of time and why it's so important, especially if you want to achieve your goals and if you want to make them inevitable. You have to plan for the obstacles. You have to plan for the things that are going to get in your way. And I'm going to give you an example of why this is so important. So I have a habit right now. For the month of January, my daily habit was drinking 64 ounces of water. I'm so terrible at drinking water, especially during my nursing shifts. I don't ever pee when I'm there. And when I do pee, my urine is very concentrated, which means that I'm super dehydrated. And my goal was for the month of January to drink 64 ounces of water. I was doing really well for the first couple of days. And then it started to dwindle. I wasn't checking off that I was drinking the water every single day. And the reason was, here's the obstacle. The water wasn't in front of me. When I didn't see it, when I couldn't see how much water I was drinking, or when the water wasn't in a visible place, I wasn't thinking about hydrating. And most of you would probably think that the solution to that is, well, just take your water bottle with you everywhere. But guess what? I was taking my water bottle with me everywhere, but it was empty. The habit that I needed to create was the habit of filling my water bottle the night before. So I bought a 64-ounce jug that I now fill every single night. So when I get home from work or at the end of my day before I go to bed, what I do is I take my little water filter, I fill up my 64 ounces of water, I put it in the fridge, and now that full 64 ounces of water is there for me, and I take that jug with me and I drink it and I can visibly see it. There are obstacles that are so simple that you're not thinking about that are causing you to not stick with your habit. For many of you, when it comes to study skills, it's the organization, right? You don't already have your chapters tabbed. You don't already know what you're going to do to study. You don't already know which chapters you're going to focus on. You don't know what you're going to do to quiz yourself. You don't know what you're going to do to get through your homework assignment. And if you were to focus on a habit around organization when it comes to figuring out what you're going to do every single day, many of you would actually follow through on your habit of reading before class, or your habit of taking notes after class, or your habit of doing the assignment right when it's given to you. So these are things that you want to think about, because the more you can bring to light the obstacles that you're having, the more aligned your habits are with the goals it is that you want to achieve, the higher the likelihood it's going to be that you're actually going to stick to it and then see the results it is that you want in your life. The last thing that I want to say when it comes to habits, I'm going to recap. So step number 1, I said, is you have to figure out what you're frustrated about and what's not working, because that's going to give you insight onto what you should create a habit around. The second thing you want to do is you want to make a list of the habits that you already have, because you already do have habits, and how those habits are contributing to your frustration. The third thing that you want to do when you're trying to create steady habits that stick is you want to brainstorm a list of habits that you want to start. And you want to write down how that habit is going to help support you and your goals. The fourth thing that you want to do is create a list of options of what that habit could look like. Detail it out, what it's going to entail, what you want to do with that habit. The fifth step is to write down all of the obstacles that you might encounter while you're trying to create this habit of studying right after class or of reading your textbook before class. And what are you going to do during those moments? What decisions are you going to make ahead of time to make sure that you follow through? Many students make the mistake of being all or nothing with their habits. If they don't do it perfectly for 7 days a week, then they just throw it away. If they're a little late on, the time that they say that they were going to study, they throw it all away. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. And what has helped me is the vision where someone told me 1 point does not a line make. You need multiple points to connect in order to make a straight line. One mistake isn't going to ruin all of your progress. One mistake isn't going to ruin all of your progress. You don't build a habit in a day. You don't break a habit in a day. It's the repeated process. So the rule that I tell all of my students is, it's okay if you miss a day. Just don't miss 2 in a row. Because when you miss 2 in a row, it becomes easier to miss 3, 4, 5, and then it's a habit. So it's okay if you miss 1 day. Just the next day, start the habit all over again. As long as you don't miss more than 1, you're golden. That's the little tip that I'm going to give you, a little strategy to help you with sticking to habits and changing that all or nothing mindset. It's okay to miss 1 day. It's not going to kill me. It's okay that I didn't do it today. But the next day you hop right back on that train. And I know someone's going to ask, well, how long does it take to build a habit? So there's been a lot of studies done on how long it actually takes to build a habit. And around the world, you'll hear, it takes 21 days to build a habit. The most recent studies that have been done have actually shown that it takes about 66 days to build a habit, but that can vary, and it varies dependent on how willing that person is and how motivated that person is, how compelled that person is to achieve that goal. So if you really want to change, it might take you a week and then that habit is solid. If you are not super compelled by it, it might take you 3 months for it to be a habit for you. So don't get caught up on, it's going to take me 21 days or whatever. The goal is to just keep going, to keep trying, and to not miss more than 1 day in a row. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to question mode and see what conversations we can spark up. So I'm going to scroll through. So Zainab says, I am overwhelmed by the school workload, and I always kind of, it, which in return paralyzes me, become one of my habits. Oh, can you write your question again, Zainab? Because I'm not 100% sure what is meant by it. So Deja says that one of her habits is she'd like to rest and chill after she gets out of school. So Deja, think about what's preventing you from being able to chill after school. What's stopping you from doing that? When you can pinpoint what's stopping you, that's going to tell you the true habit that you need to put in place. Thinkworth says, I'm wondering if you could advise me on how to be rigorous in my habit as a full-time career of my dad and a university student. I'm passionate about child psychology as a field of study. What habit are you trying to create? I need more information. Talia says, so true, I get tripped up on the obstacles, right? And none of us know how to deal with them until they come up. But if you start anticipating what your obstacles are ahead of time, then you have a plan in place on what to do when they arise, and you don't get tripped up. You don't get held back by them. All right. One thing that I forgot to tell you is we have a Facebook group that's called the Secret Study Society that we are going to continue this conversation over there. So if you want help with creating your habit, you have additional questions about the habit creation process, you want me to help you map out which habit you should pick and concentrate on right now and how to make sure that that habit sticks, come on over to the Secret Study Society Facebook group. We're going to drop a link in the comments. The conversation is going to continue over there. I'm going to give you one-on-one attention, one-on-one coaching on how to really create study habits that stick. I can help you pinpoint the habit that you need to pick, just like I did with Deja. So the habit that she needs to create is not a habit to chill, but rather a habit around the obstacle that's preventing her from chilling. So it might be that she needs to plan so that she has that time, whatever it is. I'm going to help you to create your study habit, and that's going to happen inside of the Secret Study Society Facebook group. And again, we're going to be dropping a link to that in the comments. We'll also put a link to it in the description at some point. And I have one more question that I'm going to answer before we go. And that is from Retrify123. She says, how do I dedicate time every day no matter what, if I have homework or not? You create a habit around it. So you have to find out, first of all, why are you not already sticking to it? And then that's going to help pinpoint where the problem, the frustration is, and you can create a habit around that. So what I would tell you to do is to create a list of all of the reasons why you're not already sticking to doing your homework every single day. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll be here again next Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern for another episode of She Rocks at College Live. Thank you so much for joining, and make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss the next time that we're live. Bye.